Good morning, friends. Now, I'm happy to meet you all through the Zoom. I'm going to talk about a topic which is very common, we use in every day, but we are aware of the science behind it. So I'll be enriching your minds and enlighten you about a scientific wonder, the non-Newtonian fluid. On the PPT slide, you see a man walking on water. Is it possible? But it is highly possible using the non-Newtonian fluid. Let us all know more about it in my brief talk. I'll also be sharing some PowerPoint clipping so that I can introduce the concept effectively.
Wait a second. Now?
Yeah. Now, let us see the contents. I'll be first explaining about the states of matter. Next, I'll be talking to you about the viscosity. Next, about the non-Newtonian fluid. I will also be discussing about the types of it, its applications, recap, and finally the useful YouTube sites which could be seen in the quarantine period. Let us go in detail. Coming to the states of matter, we all know that there are three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Solids have definite shape and size. Liquids do not have the shape, it takes the shape of the container, and gases, it does not have any shape or size. Coming to the viscosity, it's a quantity expressing the magnitude of internal friction. So, it is learned by the force per unit area resisting the uniform flow. When you are going to talk about the Newtonian fluid, it follows a set of rules for the movement outlined by Sir Isaac Newton. So, it has constant viscosity independent of stress. That means, whether the stress is high or the stress is low, the viscosity of the liquid does not change. You know the common viscous liquids, water, castor oil, then coconut oil, etc. When we are going to talk about the ketchup, it's a non-Newtonian fluid because it does not follow the rules. What are the rules? It changes the viscosity depending upon the stress. We will see that in detail. This is the difference between Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. Newtonian fluids follows the set of rules governed for the movement of fluids, whereas non-Newtonian fluids does not follow the rules given by Isaac Newton for the viscosity of the fluids. The very good example for a Newtonian fluid is water. For non-Newtonian fluid, it is ketchup. If you are going to see, a person is hitting the bottle so that when more stress is applied, the viscosity of the ketchup decreases. When it decreases, the ketchup comes out of the bottle. This we often see in our day-to-day life, but we do not know the concept behind it. Because the ketchup is a non-Newtonian fluid, it changes its viscosity depending upon the stress applied on it. I would like to explain the non-Newtonian fluid using the example of students. When the students are in the class during college hours, they'll be having the break. At that time, they'll be leaving the classroom in an orderly way. They will not be rushing up. On the other hand, if a fire breaks out in the class, definitely the students will not be able to move around in an orderly way. They'll be dashing and they will be hitting other people so that they would like to save their life. When we are going to talk about the passengers boarding the train, in the first picture, they are in an orderly way. But when you are going to see the second picture, it becomes more disorderly, showing the non-Newtonian nature. In the first picture, it depicts the Newtonian nature. I hope you are very clear about the non-Newtonian fluid. So, in a non-Newtonian fluid, it behaves as a solid when more stress is applied on it. You are seeing in the first picture a person holding the non-Newtonian fluid, that is the oblique. Oblique is nothing but a mixture of cornstarch and water. This is the very good example of a non-Newtonian fluid. It is known as the magic mud. It exhibits the unusual behavior. Okay? When you are pressing the magic mud, that is oblique, it is solid in nature. On the other hand, when it is left freely in the hand, it drips out. In the second picture, you are able to see the oblique. When it is taken in the hand and if it is left free, it drips. On the other hand, when it is punched with heavy force, when more stress is applied, then it becomes as a solid. What happens inside? If the fluid is allowed to drip slowly, the atoms move enough to allow the material to change its shape. If it is punched or pressed, the atoms ram into one another, forming a solid temporarily. And after some time, it becomes as a normal fluid. When the stress is removed, it appears as a normal fluid. Here, you are going to see a person who is doing exercise. He is jumping over the oblique kept in the big trough. Here, as long as he is applying more stress on the oblique surface, he can move over the surface. In the beginning, I have shown you a person walking on the surface of water, isn't it? If it is a non-Newtonian fluid, he can walk on it, I have said, isn't it? In a similar way, as long as a person does exercise vigorously, he can move over the oblique surface. When he is calm, without doing any exercise, he will be going or sinking inside the liquid. That is the peculiar nature of the non-Newtonian fluid. This is the wonderful picture about the non-Newtonian fluids. Here, the graph is drawn between shearing strain versus shearing stress. You are able to see a straight line starting from the origin. That is the Newtonian fluid. Here, it obeys the Newton's laws for the movement of fluids. On the other hand, when you are going to talk above and below the straight line, you are having shear thickening, that is oblique will express that nature. As I have already told you, oblique is nothing but a mixture of water and cornstarch. And the name oblique comes after the scientist who has invented it. Below that Newtonian fluids straight line, you are having shear thinning graph. The paint is an example for shear thinning non-Newtonian fluid. You are having one more straight line which is not originating from the origin, that is known as BINGHAM plastic. The example for BINGHAM plastic is toothpaste. We will see in detail in later slides. So the BINGHAM plastic is a non-Newtonian fluid. Usually when you apply the stress for the tube in the toothpaste, you will be able to get the toothpaste. You can use it for brushing your teeth. The surface of the BINGHAM plastic can hold peaks when it is still. But if you are going to see the water surface or coconut oil or the castor oil, the surface of those liquids will be perfectly plain. But the surface of the BINGHAM plastics will be having the peaks in it due to the non-Newtonian nature. The examples of BINGHAM plastics are clay suspensions, toothpaste, mayonnaise, chocolate, etc. You are able to follow? Good. These are the types of non-Newtonian fluids. The first type is THIXOTROPIC. The example is honey. For RHEOPECTIC, the example is paint. Then for shear thinning liquids, example is tomato sauce. Dilatant or shear thickening, the example is oblique. We'll see in detail. For thixotropic fluids, the viscosity decreases with stress over time. For example, when you take honey in a bowl or in a bottle, then it will be somewhat solid in nature. But if you keep on stirring it, the solid honey becomes a liquid because the viscosity decreases with increased stress. Next type is rheotopic. Here, the viscosity increases with stress over time. If you take the paint box, if you stir it up, the viscosity increases. So the paint becomes thicker. And when you are applying it on the wall, you will be able to see some dense drops. It is due to the non-Newtonian nature and due to the gravitational acceleration. So the viscosity increases with stress for the paint. Coming to shear thinning fluid, the viscosity decreases with increased stress. We have been repeatedly talking about the tomato sauce or the ketchup. Only when the bottle is tapped, when it is under stress, the viscosity decreases, so the fluid comes out. So this is a very good example. And coming to the last type, that is the shear thickening fluid. Here, the viscosity of a shear thickening fluid appears to increase when the shear rate increases. We have already seen that when a person is doing exercise, applying a large stress, then the surface becomes as a solid, isn't it? So, oblique is the very good example for shear thickening fluid. Oblique is nothing but cornstarch suspended in water. So when it is stirred slowly under low stress, it looks like a milky one. When it is stirred vigorously, it becomes so thick that it becomes as a solid under high stress. We are going to talk about the applications. Whenever we are talking about the speciality of any material or liquid, we should know the application of it. The best application for this non-Newtonian fluid is that it is applied in the speed breakers. In the speed breakers, it will be filled with non-Newtonian fluid. When the vehicle is moving in a slower rate with less force, then there will not be any problem. When the person is riding the two-wheeler or four-wheeler in a high speed, then the liquid will become as a solid. In that case, it will give a stress to the tires so that the tires will not be able to move in a faster rate. So it acts as a speed breaker. Finally, the recap. So we have discussed about what is a non-Newtonian fluid, how it behaves, and what are the speciality about it. We have also discussed about the 4 types of non-Newtonian fluids. And finally, the application also we have discussed. So this is a novel fluid which we are using in our day-to-day life. The concept we have understood after this lecture. So I hope this is a useful one. So let me also introduce some of the useful YouTube sites which can be used in your quarantine period. And I will be sharing one video after this session. Okay, you can go through that. It will be a marvelous one. You can also go through that to enhance your knowledge, as well as you can spend the time usefully in this quarantine period. There are some more video sites. Interesting one, great big story, great idea, 5 minutes, tech zone, the Q, the LMES, that is let's make engineering simple. Some simple engineering machines, how to make, how to prepare, how to handle, everything will be given in that. So you can go through that and then you can be benefited. Okay. Anything you want to share about this non-Newtonian fluid or the YouTube sites or anything else? Okay, we'll go for the polls now. Yes. The first question, how was the class? You can, there are some ratings: bad, good, better, best, awesome. You can tick.
The class was really awesome.
They have to submit. You have to press that particular thing. Then you can go to the next poll. Can we have a class like this? Yearly once, monthly once, weekly once, daily? You can just give your option. Only 4 students have voted. All of you can vote. 3 more have to vote. You can feel free with it. You can vote it. Okay, over. Everybody has voted. It is given that 27% students have said it is good. 36% has rated it to be the best. Then 36.4% voted awesome. Very good. The next one. Can we have the class like this? Monthly ones, 9.1 students have voted. Weekly ones, 36% have voted. Daily, 54.5 have voted. So many students, you like this class, I think. So you want to have a free outlet like this, I think. So you are most welcome. I'm much thankful to you. Last slide. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all of you, you have come to the frame. Okay, 1 minute. Wait, you can wait. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
எத்தனை தடவை சொல்லுவாங்க
Yes. Okay, ma. Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
எப்படி இருந்தது? என்ஜாய் பண்ணீங்களா நீங்க?
நல்லா இருந்துச்சு.
நல்லா இருந்ததா? சரி. திருமல லட்சுமி எப்படிமா இருக்க?
நல்லா இருக்கு.
நல்லா இருக்கியாமா? சரி. நல்ல ஹெல்த்த பாத்துக்க. சரியாமா? பிறகு நம்ம பிறகு மீட் பண்ணுவோம். ஒரு கொஞ்ச நாள் கழிச்சு நான் உங்களை கான்டாக்ட் பண்றேன். என்ன? We'll have a class like this and then we'll go.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll end the session.
Okay, ma'am. Bye.